That is a fast day. That is a rabbinic fast day, but it is almost like Yom Kippur in its severity, in that it starts the night before, and we don't wear leather shoes, and etc., etc. Then we have the minor fast days. The more, like today, Asara b'Tevet, Shiv'asa b'Tammuz, the 17th day of Tammuz. That's the day where the walls were breached. We have Tzom Gedalia, the fast of Gedalia. That's right after Rosh Hashanah. And that is that after the destruction of the temple, the Romans the Babylonians, appointed a Jewish governor by the name of Gedalia. So that gave us a sense of security, that the remaining Jews didn't have to flee for their lives. We could remain in Yerushalayim. However, a contingent of people led by Yisroel ben Netanyah, who was himself a Jew, came and he murdered Gedalia. When he murdered Gedalia, at that point, the Babylonians were furious, and the Jews felt no sense of security anymore, and the last remnant of Jews fled out from Jerusalem. Today, Asara b'Tevet is the day when the siege first began. And it wasn't until years later that the walls were breached. But today is the day that the siege began, and it also is a fast day. Actually, this day is here written in the prophets. And it's written in a way that gives us a glimpse. Do we fast on Shabbat?
No. Only on Yom Kippur.
Only on Yom Kippur. If Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbat, then we fast on Shabbat. If Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbat, we push it off until Sunday. But there are sources that say that if Asara b'Tevet, if today's fast day would fall out on Shabbat, we would fast even on Shabbat. Why? Why would that be the case? So listen how the Navi, this is the Navi Yecheskel, Ezekiel. Vayhi dvar Hashem elai, and the word of God came to me, B'shana Tishit, on the 9th year, B'chodesh Asiri, in the 10th month, that's this month, Be'asor lachodesh, on the 10th of the month, that's today, Lemor saying, Ben Adam, son of man, Kitav lecha et shem hayom, write down the name of this day, et etzem hayom hazeh, this very day. Samach melech Bavel el Yerushalayim, the king of Bavel, of Babylonia, laid his siege on Jerusalem, be'etzem hayom hazeh, on this very day. Now, the Torah, so by the emphasis of on this very day, that is the source why we would say that we would fast on this day, even if it was Shabbat. But where else does the Torah use the term be'etzem hayom hazeh? There are 3 other places where we have be'etzem hayom hazeh.
Which means?
On this very day, in the midst of this day, on this very day. One of them is when Noach is told to enter into the ark. He entered it be'etzem hayom hazeh. The other time is by the exodus from Egypt, when we left Mitzrayim. We left be'etzem hayom hazeh. And the other time is by the death of Moshe. Be'etzem hayom hazeh. What would be a common factor between these events, the flood, the Exodus, the death of Moshe?
It's like a recharging
Okay.
of our faith.
Okay, it's a recharging of our faith. Okay.
Like time to.
It is a cataclysmic shift, a complete shift in the way the world had been until now to the way it's going to be after that. We had the pre-flood world, and now the world is being reset. The flood was like a reset button. Exodus from Egypt, it's a whole new world now. A whole new world of God's involvement of the nation of Israel. The death of Moshe, there will never be a leader, a prophet like Moshe again. The Etzem Hayom Hazeh is where we are going through this paradigm shift in what the world was and now what the world will be. The only other place outside of the Torah where we use that term of the Etzem Hayom Hazeh, and we're using it twice over here in the very same pasuk, is when the siege was placed around Jerusalem. What is this paradigm shift that is happening now? Galut. Galut. This is the start of exile, of Galut. Meaning, we were moving in a certain direction. Right? Exodus, entering Israel, building a temple. We were on a certain we were on this incline. And now all of a sudden, we've reached this point where we no longer have this invincibility. We no longer have this security. The nations are coming to lay siege to Jerusalem. Famine set in. We had no way of bringing food in. You know, today when you travel along the Jerusalem-Tel Aviv highway, you see the remnants of another siege that was on Jerusalem. And you see burnt out vehicles that were trying to break through the Arab siege on Jerusalem. That was in 1948. In 1948. So the Arabs tried to cut off Jerusalem. And there was no Jerusalem highway then. The burnt out vehicles were moved onto the Jerusalem main highway, which is carved through many mountains to get there. Then it was now in Israel you could take a bike ride they have among the Latrun Trail of this winding road going through many Arab villages and very, very vulnerable spots. But the very first siege on Jerusalem started today. And that's what was the Etzem Hayom Hazeh, that's what turned the course of Galut, of exile. A number of years later is when the walls were broken. But by then we were already a broken city, a broken people. And then 3 weeks after that is when the temple was burnt, was destroyed. 70 years later, We rebuilt it, but not in its same glory. We didn't have that Aron, the holy ark. We didn't. All right, there was recently a newspaper article that there is some town in Africa or in Ethiopia, where there is rumored that they have the ark, and there's one person whose lifetime mission is to guard that, and he'll pass that on to another person when he's reaching towards the end of his life, and that'll be his lifetime mission, right? So we say that's not the ark. It's probably a replica of the ark. It's probably a replica of the ark. We say the ark is buried underneath in the Temple Mount right now. That's where it is now. So Indiana Jones did not find it, and it's not in Ethiopia.
Who would have made
I'm sorry?
Who would have made a replica of the ark and take the time to take it to Ethiopia and hide it? Trust those people to guard it. That's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, it's interesting. In Ethiopia, you have many, the Ethiopian Jews, right, maintained many customs of not the rabbinic customs. They were out of that lineage, but the Torah customs. I don't know. Actually, a while ago I read a story of there was a non-Jewish, maybe he was Muslim, I'm not sure what he was, who had an amazing ability to give blessings. And when he would give blessings, the people would get better. And there was, I forget the whole story, I forgot which rabbi it was, who was trying to figure out how could this be? And they were friends. And he said, "Well, I have a secret. And finally, he agreed to show the rabbi the secret. And what he had secreted away in this room. And he said, in order to go there, I'd only go into this room if I first immerse myself in a pool of water, like we have a mikveh. They also have immersion, right, for 7 days. And I fast, right? And then finally, he goes into this room. And what did he have in there? He had the Yud K Vav K written out on a parchment. He had God's name written out on a parchment. Right? And he treated it with such reverence and such holiness that that's what gave him this ability. Very often the nations have taken an aspect of Judaism and have glamorized that, have devoted themselves to that. Right? But the Ark, according to our understanding, according to all of our traditions and teachings and sources, the Ark did not go to Ethiopia. Yeah. But this was the start of all of the galut sufferings that we have and certainly have had. This is the Etzem Yom Hazeh. This is the point of that transition. And that is why this, of all the fast days, is a day that we would actually fast. If it were to fall out on Shabbat, we would fast on Shabbat. Be'etzem hayom hazeh. Be'etzem hayom hazeh. Very, very, very powerful words. Okay, let's come back to our Parsha. Parshat Vay'chee. Parshat Vay'chee, page 268. Vay'chee means, and he lived. 268. This is the last Parsha of the book of Breishit. Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek, we say when we complete the reading this Shabbat. And it speaks about the end of Jacob's life. Actually, it's going to deal with the death of Jacob, of Yaakov. his being brought back to Israel to be buried. It's going to deal with the blessings that he gave to each of his sons before his death. And then we're going to deal with the post-Yaakov life of Yosef and the brothers there in Mitzrayim. And the book ends with the death of Yosef. Now, first of all, Vay'chee means and he lived. Let's take that very first pasuk. Okay, Ora Vay'chee Yaakov.
ויחי יעקב בארץ מצרים 17 שנה, ויהי ימי יעקב שני חייו 7 שנים ו40 ומעט שנה.
Go a little further.
ויקרבו ימי ישראל למות, ויקרא לבנו ליוסף, ויאמר לו, אם נא מצאתי חן בעיניך, שים נא ידך תחת ירכי, ועשית עמדי חסד ואמת, אל נא תקברני במצרים. ושכבתי עם אבותיי ונסעתי ממצרים נסעתני ממצרים וקברתני בקבורתם, ויאמר אנוכי אעשה כדבריך. ויאמר הישבעה לי, וישבע לו, וישתחו ישראל על ראש המיטה.
Beautiful. In English, please. Eileen?
Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, and the days of Jacob, the years of his life, were 147 years. The time approached for Israel to die, so he called for his son, for Joseph, and said to him, Please, if I have found favor in your eyes, please place your hand under my thigh, and do kindness and truth with me. Please do not bury me in Egypt, for I will lie down with my fathers, and you shall transport me out of Egypt and bury me in their tomb. He said, I personally will do as you have said. He replied, Swear to me. And he swore to him. Then Israel prostrated himself toward the head of the bed.
Okay. So a couple of very, very interesting things here. Vay'chee Yaakov Eretz Mitzrayim. Vay'chee, and he lived. The numerical value of the word Vay'chee, right? We have gematria. Every letter has its numerical value. Vav is the 6th letter of the alphabet. That has 6. Yud is the 10th. That is 10. Chet is the 8th. That's 8. Yud is the 10th. That is again 10. So we have 6, 10, 8, 10, 20, 28. What do we have altogether? 34. Vay'chee Yaakov. So Yaakov lived. How many years did Yaakov live?
Really?
Well, so he lived altogether, we say 147 years. But there were years where Yaakov thought he had not fulfilled his mission. What was the mission that he understood was given to him? He was supposed to found the nation of Israel, these 12 tribes. When was he fully alive? When he felt he had fulfilled that mission. Right? When he hears that Yosef is alive, he says, Amuta ha'pa'am. So, simply as translated, now I can die. Right? My life is okay, now I can die. Right? I remember there was a headlines when the New York Rangers finally won the Stanley Cup playoff, a hockey team. After 50 years, there was like this 87 or 88-year-old woman who said, now I can die. This long-suffering Rangers fan, right? So on the simple level, Yaakov said, Amuta pam, now I can die. But the Medrash says, incredibly, Amuta ha'pa'am, now I will only die once. Meaning what? There's death in this world, and there's death, so to speak, in the next world. Death in the next world is if one did not accomplish what they were meant to accomplish. Now he said, oh, Yosef's alive? Amuta ha'pa'am. I will die in this world, but not in the next world. I've done what I was meant to do. Mission accomplished. Yosef is alive. I've established 12 tribes. Now, how many years did he live with this sense of being fully alive? How old was Yosef?
17.
When he was sold, 17. So he had 17 years with Yosef prior to the sale. And then when he came to Egypt, when Yaakov came to Egypt, how many more years did he have to his life? 17 years. 17 plus 17, 34. Vay'chee, the gematria of Vay'chee, and he lived 34. Yaakov lived, he was fully alive for those 34 years. Do not bury me. He called Yosef. Yosef was the man in charge. The other brothers did not have the power to fulfill this. Yosef did. And he said, do not bury me in Mitzrayim. I want to be buried in the land of Israel. And of course, Yaakov is buried in Marat HaMachpelah, in Hebron, in the tomb of the patriarchs, where Avram and Sarah and Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov and Leah are buried, and Adam and Chava, and Adam and Eve. So the patriarchs, the matriarchs, Rachel is buried in Kever Rachel on the way towards Beit Lechem. I was there this past summer on the Poland-Israel trip, and it's incredible. I remember years ago going there, and you drive up there, and you walk in. Now, after the peace accord of Oslo, you see what peace it brought. It is this, every time you go there, it's more and more barricaded. Now you drive a road there with walls with concrete walls that go all the way up. It is this army compound barricaded like you can't believe. Like you can't believe. That's where Rachel is buried. But Yaakov did not want to be buried in Egypt. He did not want to be there for the plagues. The Medrash says when the land would turn to lice, he did not want to be there. He wanted to be in Israel first and foremost. He did not want to be there during the plagues. He didn't want to become this deity that would be worshipped over there, right? Mummified and worshipped over there, the same way that Moshe's burial place is not known. The Jordanians think they know where it is. There's a mountain that they call Nebi Musa, which is Arabic for Navi Moshe, the prophet Moshe, but we don't know where Moshe is buried because it was not meant to become this pilgrimage place that would be worshipped. And Yosef says, I'll do it. Now, interesting. Vasita imadi chesed ve'emet. Here's where we get the very, very famous expression that we use, that any kindness that we do for a deceased person, attending a funeral, helping with the actual burial, we call that chesed shel emet. Chesed, kindness of emet, of truth. It's a true kindness because there is no reciprocity. Right? Whenever we do a kindness, in the back of our heads, right, there's always some thought of, well, one hand washes the other, right? I've done for them, they owe me, now they'll do for me. This is, do with me chesed ve'emet, do not bury me in Mitzrayim. Yosef says, Anochi eseh, I'll do as you have asked. He said, swear to me. And he swore to him, and then, right, and he swore to him.
But he didn't know when he will die. I mean...
Correct.
So
Yaakov knew his time was arriving.
No. I mean, he didn't... Joseph gave a promise that he'll bury his father. He'll take him out of Egypt. But many years went by before Joseph died. No. After Joseph died, many years have passed before they actually...
left Egypt. But once Yaakov died, he was transported, right? When he gives the brachot, right? Just jump up ahead for a second.
So they buried him. They took him out of Egypt and buried him.
Yes.
While Joseph was still alive.
Yes. Right. If you look on page 285, verse 4. Joseph spoke to Paro's house, saying, if you please, if I found favor in your eyes, speak now in the ears of Paro. My father had adjured me, saying, my father had Hishpiani, made me swear, saying, I'm about to die, right? Bury me in the grave of my land of Canaan. There you're to bury me, right? And Paro said, verse 6, go up and bury your father as he made you swear. Actually, the Medrash says that it was only because of the oath that Paro allowed him. This was a real slap in the face. First of all, this was a real challenge for Yosef, right? Is his allegiance to the Pharaoh, or is it to his homeland, to his father, to his family, to the land of Canaan? He's going to Pharaoh now and saying, "My father wants out of here." Right? We are foreigners here. And we want to be buried back in the land of Israel. This took a lot of courage on part of Yosef. This was a rejection of, right? And Paro said, "Go as your father made you swear." The Medrash says that when Paro met Yosef, Paro knew all the languages. He did not know Lashon HaKodesh. He did not know Hebrew. And it was a tremendous humiliation that he, the Pharaoh, did not know a language, and that this Jewish slave who came out of the prison did. So he made Yosef swear that he would never let anyone know that Yosef had taught him that language. So according to the Medrash, that's why the swearing was very important. Paro did not want to have Yosef break his oath to his father, because once you can break an oath, then already he's in the clear. But another very interesting thing, look at the wording over here. V'shachafti, look back in 269, verse 30. I will lay down with my fathers, and you shall transport me out of Egypt and bury me in their tomb.
Nothing weird about
The Torah always uses the term of laying down with one's fathers before it speaks about the burial.
Very strange.
Laying down with the fathers does not mean the burial, because I will lay down with my fathers, and then you will carry me out from Egypt, and then you will bury me in their kvura, in their burial area, in their tomb.
Could that mean spiritually?
So from here we see, exactly, we see the idea that when a person dies, they are reunited. The body dies, but the person, right? When we speak about the soul, we mean the person. You, I, with all of our thoughts, all of our memories, all of our connections, all of our passions, all of who we are. Right? Who we are is not the physical self. The physical self is an incredible. The physical self is an incredible. It's a fast day today. The physical self. It's a fast day today. The physical self is a shell, is a covering for who we are. There's this book by this Frenchman about the Bell, I forget the exact title, of a person who was a journalist, who had this disease.
The butterfly and the jar.
The butterfly, thank you. Yeah, the butterfly. And the jar?
Mm-hmm. And the bell jar.
And the bell jar. Right? And what's the connection of the butterfly and the bell jar? Do you remember what the name?
I couldn't verbalize it, but I mean the butterfly symbolizes soaring and being free, even though he's trapped in his body.
He had a disease, it's a locked-in disease, that cognitively the person is fully there, but he becomes locked into his body, or her body, that literally cannot move. But he was able to blink one of his eyelids, I believe. And with that, he was able to communicate. And he ended up writing a whole book about his experience, communicating that through his, which letter, which words, communicating this entire book, which was written, by his just simple movement. He was fully there, 100% there, but the body was in this immobilized state. So the body is what dies, but the person, who we are, who we have built ourselves into during the time of our life, that moves on to the next stage. And that's how the Torah always refers to it. V'shachavti im avotai. I will lay down with my fathers. I will re-enter with my predecessors. I will be reunited with those who have already left. And that happens before the burial. That happens when the soul leaves the body. And also another point, in a very similar vein, the name of this parsha is Vay'chee, and he lived. And it speaks about the death of Jacob, of Yaakov. There's another parsha which has in it the name, the word Chai. What's that? Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah. That was a parsha back earlier on in Breishit. And what does that deal with? The death of Sarah. So why is it that the two parshiot that have the word life in it deal with death?
Because it also enumerates.
Because there is life that far supersedes the physical body.
And in each case, it enumerates the life. Like Jacob was very alive for the first 17, and then the last 17, and Sarah's
But life does not end with the death, the physical death of the body. Actually, the halachic compendium that deals with all of the laws of a person's passing is called Gesher HaChayim. Gesher HaChayim means the bridge of life. Right? When we say passing, it's not just, we don't want to say the word die, so we say passing to make it sound nicer, softer. No. Our understanding, our belief is that it is a passing. It is a gesher achayim. It is a bridge of life where one passes from this mode of existence to the next mode of existence. It's not death. It's Vay'chee Yaakov. It's Chaye Sarah. It is life. It's a different stage of life that a person passes over into. Okay, let's jump towards the end of the parsha.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How come his name is used interchangeably here? Jacob, Israel, Jacob. Why not just Israel? He was renamed once. Why not to use it?
Okay, so that's a great question, right? Avram became Avraham, right? And never again do we refer to him as Avram. Sarai became Sarah. And never again do we refer to her as Sarai. It's only Sarah. We don't name any children Sarai. We name children Sarah. We don't name any boys Abram. We name them Avraham. Very, very interesting. This really opened my eyes. There is some people were given the name Avram, not Avraham. And there's someone who approached me, he was very troubled that he was Avram. And he wanted to be Avraham. He wanted to change his name. So he came to me and he said, Rabbi, how do I change my name? Now normally, when do we change someone's name? The person is very ill, right? But we don't just change someone's name. If they were given a name at a Brit, or if they were a girl was given the name at an Aliyah at the Torah, that becomes the person's name. We don't just randomly change it. So I called Rav David Cohen, who is, if not one of the preeminent poskim of the Jewish world today. And he started to laugh. And he said, tell him his name is Avraham. I said, what do you mean?
His parents made a mistake.
He said, his name is Avraham. I said, but at his bris, he was named Avram. They made a mistake. His name is Avraham. I said, but he was named after someone whose name was Avram. He said, they all made a mistake. And he explained it, very fascinating. He said, I forget which accent it is, right? But you say Avrum. right? So you swallow the hey. He said, no one is named Avraham. Everyone is named Avraham. But some of them, sometimes people pronounced it Avrum. So you don't hear the hey. Avraham, Avrum, Avrumi. Right? So you don't hear the hey. And people made a mistake to think, oh, his name is actually Avram, but not Avraham. That's a mistake. The name is Avraham. Jews are not named Avram.
In Russia, they named Abram.
Avraham.
Abram, no.
See, he's
Abram.
saying that's a mistake. That really it's Avraham.
Like Lincoln is Abraham.
Abraham.
Lincoln, yes, Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham.
Yes.
Lincoln, yeah.
Yes. He was a real friend of the Jews. Abraham Lincoln. He was.
Yeah.
He was a very devoted friend of the Jews. Yes.
But when
Yes.
a person is uncomfortable with his name,
I'm sorry?
when a person doesn't like his name, something doesn't sit right with the name. Is it kind of reason enough to change it?
Look, I don't know if you would officially change your Hebrew name,
Hebrew.
right? That's your name. You know, the English name is just something that was given. That doesn't speak to the soul of a person like a Hebrew name. But coming back to Rachel's question, so why is it then that Yaakov and Yisroel are used somewhat interchangeably throughout the Torah? His name was changed to Yisroel, but he's still called Yaakov, he's still called Yisroel, all about. And today we have people named Yisroel, we have people named Yaakov, right? Why was that not a permanent change? And different commentators give different explanations. I think the Or HaChaim explains that actually in the wording, it doesn't say that your name will no longer be, right? And Yaakov and Yisroel are two important facts, two important phases that we all constantly have in our life. Yaakov is grasping at the heel. Yaakov is trying to get there. Yisroel has a certain ascendancy that he's there. And when Yaakov is in a sorrowed state, he's referred to as Jacob. When he is in an uplifted state, he's referred to as Yisroel. And there's a verse, when Yaakov hears that Yosef is alive, the pasuk says, Vatichi ruach Yaakov, the spirit of Yaakov came alive. And the next pasuk is, Vayomer Yisrael, and Yisrael spoke. So once his spirit came alive, who's talking now? Yisrael is talking now. But let's go now to the end. You know, let me ask a question. Did Yaakov ever find out what really happened with Yosef?
I'm sure he found out. I'm sure he guessed. I'm sure he
figured
knew
out.
all the time, all along.
Okay. So it's not clear from the psukim. From the verses, it's not clear what Yaakov knew, if Yaakov knew. You know, it could very well be that he didn't want to know, that he realized there was something scandalous involved, and it's best that I don't know. I'd rather not know. Everyone's getting along now. Everyone's good. Let's not rock the boat. Let's not open up wounds over here. There are those that say that Yosef stayed far away. Right? Yosef had to travel now to his father when he heard that he was sick. Right? And Yosef stayed far away in order to not allow for that conversation of exactly what happened when I sent you to see how your brothers were doing. What happened? How did you end up down here in Egypt? Yosef was trying to stay away from there. Perhaps he did know. Right? There are hints when he gives the blessing to the sons. So he uses, when he gives the bracha to Yosef, take a look on page 282. 281. 280, 281. When he gives the blessing to Yosef, he says, Ben Porat Yosef, Ben Porat Ale Ayin, a charming son is Yosef, a charming son to the eye. Banot Sa'ada Ale Shur, the daughters climbed the walls in order to gaze. Vayimaruhu Varobu, they embittered him, they fought with him. Vayistamuhu Ba'alei Chitzim, and the arrowed men, Vayistamuhu, they hated him. But Vayistamuhu is a term that's only, the usual word for hatred is what? Sin'ah. And that's the term that was used when Yosef had his dreams. The pasuk says then that the brothers, Vayisnu'u oto echav, the brothers hated him. V'lo yachlu dabro l'sholom, they could not speak to him. There's two other places where we use the word satam for hatred. And that was Esav's anger, hatred to Yaakov after the brachot were taken, after Yaakov received the brachot. We had that term of Vayistom Esav. Esav hated him and wanted to kill him. And then again at the end of the parsha, we'll see in a moment, again we see the word satam. So satam seems to be used when there is this interfamily rivalry, hatred, which could even lead to death. So the fact that Yaakov used that over here might be an indication that he understood what had happened, right? But it's not clear. It's not clear. It's not mefurash. Let's go though to what happens at the end, where again we have this term used. Page 286. Let's go 287. We'll go a little faster. We'll go just with the English. So Yaakov was brought. He died. Was brought out of Egypt to Israel to be buried. Let's go verse 12 in English. Someone take that for us in English. Amy, you have that?
Yeah. His sons did for him exactly as he had instructed. His sons carried him to the land of Canaan, and they buried him in the cave of the Machpelah field, and the field that Abraham had bought as a burial estate from Ephron, the Hittite, facing Mamre.
So it's interesting. Whenever we speak about the tomb of the patriarchs, Martha Machpelah, we always reiterate that Abraham bought it from Ephron. It's as if the Torah is saying, right, this is going to be contested. So therefore, whenever we mention this, we make it very clear, Abraham bought it. It belongs to Abraham. Okay. Joseph returned to Egypt.
And he and his brothers and all who had gone up with him to bury his father, after he buried his father, Joseph's brothers perceived that their father was dead, and they said, "Perhaps Joseph will nurse hatred against us, and then he will surely repay us all the evil that we did him." So he instructed that Joseph be told, "Your father gave orders before his death, saying, 'Thus shall you say to Joseph, oh please kindly forgive the spiteful deed of your brothers and their sin, for they have done you evil. So now please forgive the spiteful deed of the servants of your father's God.'"
Okay, so the brothers are afraid. They saw that after the father's death, something was a little bit different, right? What had changed? Until that point, they would dine at Joseph's table, and now that Yaakov had died, they no longer were dining at his table.
So there were some bad feelings between them.
Well, there was this change. They were afraid. If you want to look, the English speaks about it over here in 287. Right, this paragraph over here. They understood this. To them, this meant that once Joseph no longer had to show deference to Jacob, he was revealing his lingering animosity toward them, and they feared that he would avenge himself against them having sold him. They were wrong. I'm in 287, the second column in the middle of this paragraph here. They were wrong, however. His real reason for stopping the invitation was that Jacob used to insist that Joseph sit at the head of the table. Now, however, Joseph felt uncomfortable about taking the precedence over Reuben and Judah, who were his elders. On the other hand, it will be a violation of protocol for the viceroy to relinquish his position. So he stopped issuing the invitation. Alternatively, Joseph knew that with Jacob gone, there was a serious danger that the Egyptian persecution could begin any time. It could be provoked that the Egyptians suspected the Jews were seeking power and influence. To prevent the Egyptians from harboring such suspicions, Joseph stopped inviting them to his palace.
But why didn't Jews went back to Canaan after the famine was over? Why did they remain in Egypt?
That's an interesting question.
Why did they stay?
That's an interesting answer.
Why did they go back to their land?
You hear what he said?
What did you say?
For the same reason that we are here.
Ah, okay. Yeah?
Yeah. Rav Hirsch notes that without parents